Does it work from here? Can you hear me?
Yep.
First off, I want to thank you, Joe, for calling me back. It's an honor, actually, seeing you reading that email. So to start off, we can all remember from the dark ages and when we learned it in high school that it was a time of economic recession, a time of no innovation, essentially a time of nothingness. It was also a time that approximately 20 to 25 million people in Europe died from the Black Death. But what about the other people on this planet? What were they doing at this time? And that's the purpose of this presentation. I'll be exploring what these people were doing. So the discourse that we're very familiar about the Dark Ages is a Eurocentric one, which by definition means it focuses on European culture and history while excluding a wider view of the world. It also treats European culture as being superior relative to others. Unfortunately, we've seen this in history that we've learned. For example, the history of science and technology starts with Greeks and Romans, then it pauses for a period of time during the Dark Ages, then resumes again during the European Renaissance. We also notice that in names of location. For example, the Middle East is named that way because it's slightly east of Europe. And the Far East is named that way because it's further away east from Europe. So I'm not here actually to change names of locations. All I'm here today is to fill gaps of what other civilizations have done during the Dark Ages. And I know there's a lot of civilizations on this planet, but for the purpose of my presentation, I'll be focusing on the Islamic Civilization. Because at the time Europe was experiencing its Dark Age, the Islamic Civilization was experiencing its Golden Age. So just to put it in perspective in terms of location, the Islamic civilization spans all the way west from Spain in the Iberian Peninsula, all the way east to certain parts of China. And contributors in this era are very diverse. They're Indian, they're Arabs, they're African Arabs, and Persians, just to name a few. So what was really happening during this golden era? Well, lots of things. There's a lot of ideas, innovation, creativity. There was institutions that was in place that fostered such growth. And what these scholars did, they took works of Greeks and Persians and Romans, and then they ran with it. And for the purpose of this presentation, I'll be highlighting some of the most notable ones. One of them is Ibn Firnas, which to me is the unrecognized inventor. He actually studied the mechanics of flight way before we knew it even was studied. That was actually in the year 800s. He built this glider that sustained him in flight for 10 minutes. But he forgot to put the tail at the end, which was necessary to stabilize his landing. So when he did land, he actually crashed and broke all his bones. Unfortunately, he lived the rest of his life in pain and never got back to it. But if he did, I imagine we would probably have learned to fly slightly before. The next one is Al-Jazari, which is the father of robotics. He has many inventions. He's a crazy guy, actually. One of the things he did, he's known for the elephant clock, which is just a sophisticated way to tell the time. So at every half hour, the bird at the top turns, the serpent just pivots, and then you have this mallet that puts a symbol to dramatically signify the passage of 30 minutes. But that's not all. So I bet the engineers in this room, I think the mechanical engineers, would appreciate that he's the one who invented the crankshaft. So I'm not really sure where it's used, but I think it's used in engines. So I guess I'm a chemical engineering student, so I'm not really sure. But we will all appreciate the application of such invention in today's world. And as for Al-Khawarizmi, we can all relate to him because he's the father of algebra, and he taught us how to solve quadratic equations. He taught us how to balance equations, how to take variables and put them on the right, to combine like terms on the same side of the equation. But his most notable contribution is actually the development of the idea of an algorithm, which is just, as you all know, a mathematical procedure of approaching a problem. And without the idea of algorithm, we wouldn't have such sophisticated technology as cell phones and laptops and all these programs. And that's why some people actually call him the grandfather of computer science. And just to shift gears a bit, and moving on to medicine, Al-Zahrawi is considered the father of operational surgeries. He has more than 200 instruments to his name. And one of his most notable contributions is the discovery of catgut, which essentially actually comes from cows, but it's called catgut. And it's usually done, it's a biodegradable stitch that you stitch people up when they have surgery. It's still in use today, although there's now synthetic options. but it's still used today, and that was actually discovered in the year 900s, and wasn't even used in Europe only until the 19th century. So there was a big gap between when things were discovered in the Islamic world and when they were adopted in the European countries. And just a fun did you know facts. Did you know that the first ever degree issued at the university was founded by a woman? Well, it was, and her name is Fatima al-Fihri, and she actually founded that university in the year 859 in present-day Morocco. So it's really interesting to see that the first university on this planet was founded by a woman from this Islamic civilization. And just, Zirab is actually one of the interesting ones. He's not like into science and technology. He's actually really into fashion. So he's the one who came up with the idea to change how you dress depending on the season. So the next time you wonder why fall colors are different from spring colors, just think of Zirab, because he's the one who thought of that. And he's actually the one who came up with the idea of a three-course meal. He kept insisting that the meal should start with soup, then go to the main course, and then end with dessert. So again, when you go to the restaurant, just think of him. Let's imagine if he switched that up. Start with dessert and end with soup. I don't know. Maybe we'll just get used to it. So the lands that brought all these scholars are experiencing their dark age right now. As we all know from history, civilization is very cyclical. So when civilization is at its high, we have other civilizations at its low. So the question remains is, will we ever experience a golden age all at once together? Well, I don't really know the answer to this question, but I really do hope that we're able to do so one day. That's it. Thank you.